welcome to SC Global News. From the display of innocent faith by students from Christian schools in Jerusalem as they walked the Via Dolorosa praying for Pope Francis to the churches in Britain being shut down or repurposed into leisure centers, we have many stories to cover. On March 14, 2025, more than 500 young pilgrims walked along the Way of Cross in Via Dolorosa, Jerusalem. In a touching expression of faith and prayer, students from Christian schools throughout the city gathered to pray for the Holy Father's recovery. The sight of these children walking the sorrowful path, absorbed in prayer, beautifully reflects the purity and depth of their faith. On the morning of Friday, March 14, 2025, over 500 children and young people walked the Via Dolorosa in Jerusalem, a powerful act of faith and prayer. The students from Christian schools across the city held messages of support for Pope Francis, including heartfelt Get Well Soon placards and portraits of Pope Francis. This annual procession, known as the Via Crucis, marks the start of Lent, but this year it took an additional significance as a Jubilee event and a special occasion to pray for the Pope's health. Led by Custo's father Francisco Patton OFM and brother Ibrahim Faltas, the students prayed for Pope Francis, who have been receiving treatment for bilateral pneumonia at Rome's Gemelli Hospital since February 14, 2025. The procession also included prayers for Father Ayman, the deputy parish priest of Jerusalem, who was recently injured in a serious road accident. Along with these intentions, the children also prayed for peace and the end of an ongoing conflict that has affected the region since October 2023. The sight of these young children walking the sorrowful path of Via Dolorosa, deep in prayer, highlights the innocence and depth of their faith. Their willingness to take part in such a solemn and significant event, walking the same path Jesus once did on his way to the cross, exemplifies not only their devotion but also their desire for peace and healing in a land long affected by hardship. This is a reminder of the power of childlike faith in moments of struggle and uncertainty. The Via Dolorosa, or Sorrowful Way, is a route in the old city of Jerusalem that traces the final steps of Jesus Christ, forced by Roman soldiers on the way to his crucifixion. Ethiopia experienced a spiritual revival as evangelist Franklin Graham shared the gospel with over 400,000 people during the two-day Encountering God event. The gathering featured live music from more than a dozen local bands and US Christian artists. Each night, Graham delivered a powerful message to conclude the evening. Evangelist Franklin Graham, the son of late Billy Graham, preached the gospel to over 400,000 people in Ethiopia during a two-day event on March 8th and 9th. The Encountering God Ethiopia outreach held at Mescal Square saw thousands of people worshipping Jesus. After the first night, Graham shared on Facebook, quote, "This is my 11th trip to Ethiopia, but the first time I have ever held a crusade here. What a joy it is to see 117,000 people come to Mescal Square to hear the gospel message." He added that 65 years ago, his father preached the gospel in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and it is such a privilege for him to be able to preach here. More than 1,600 evangelical churches in Ethiopia collaborated with Billy Graham Evangelistic Association to organize the outreach. The event also featured live music from over a dozen local music groups and Christian artists from the US. On both nights, Graham concluded the evening with a message. He expressed deep gratitude to everyone who attended, saying, quote, "I am grateful for each and every one of you who has come. My father, Billy Graham, was here 65 years ago to this very day, and he loved the people of Ethiopia." End quote. The first night saw 117,000 attendees, and the second night drew a crowd of 320,000. Reverend Dijere Jembru, General Secretary of Ethiopian Council of Gospel Believers Churches, expressed his deep emotion, saying he has no words Hamas to express his heart. He was visibly moved with tears in his eyes as he saw so many people respond to good news. The ministry reports that 4,000 individuals made decisions for Christ, and many of these new believers will be mentored by local churches to support their spiritual growth, according to the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. Graham thanked God for what he is doing in Ethiopia, noting that the event had helped encourage and motivate evangelical churches to work together, understand each other, and organize activities to reach as many people as possible with the hope of Jesus Christ. U.S. Special Envoy to Middle East Steve Witkoff has rejected Hamas's offer to release Israeli-American soldier Aaron Alexander and the bodies of 4 slain hostages, as he views it as a public relations tactic to make Hamas appear to the world as a flexible organization. He also said that the Hamas should honor America's bridge proposal if they are truly committed to extending the ceasefire deal. The crackdown on anti-Israel protesters intensified as an Indian student studying at Columbia University left the US after her visa was revoked by the Department of Homeland Security. Through her X account, Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, released CCTV footage of 28-year-old Rajani Srinivasan self-deporting using the Customs and Border Protection app and rushing through the gates of LaGuardia Airport with her acquaintance, who also fled the country with her. Rajani, a native of Indian state of Tamil Nadu, arrived in the US in 2022 to pursue her doctoral studies in urban planning, but was heavily involved in anti-Semitic protests which broke out after Hamas's aggression on Israeli soil on October 7th. In a report published by an anti-discrimination committee at Columbia University on rampant anti-Semitism on college grounds, she was identified as a ringleader of a small group of Hamas sympathizers who organized protests which usually ended with Jewish students being assaulted by the participants. Rajani is the 3rd foreign student to face deportation, as the US Homeland Department has already revoked the visas of 29-year-old Palestinian master's student Mahmoud Khalil and 24-year-old Columbia student Lekwa Cordia. Acting on the promise of tackling rampant anti-Semitism on college campuses, the United States Department of State revoked the passport of a Hamas sympathizer known for organizing protests at Columbia University. The 28-year-old Indian student fled the country after learning that the Department of Homeland Security was about to apprehend her. On Saturday, U.S. Special Envoy to Middle East Steve Witkoff announced that the United States had rejected Hamas's offer made on Friday to release Israeli-American IDF reservist Aaron Alexander and the bodies of 4 slain American hostages. In a statement to American media in Doha, Witkoff dismissed the Hamas offer as a tactic to make Hamas appear flexible since the start of the negotiations. He also chastised Hamas for not accepting the bridge proposal, which had been tabled by the US days earlier. He further contended that Hamas was making a bad bet and indicated that Israel might conduct retaliatory strikes if Hamas did not respond to the US and Israeli proposal to extend the first phase deal until the end of Lent and the Ramadan season. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump announced that the leader of the Iraqi chapter of ISIS had been killed during an American covert operation. Trump, through his X account, confirmed the death of ISIS commander Abu Khadija, the mastermind behind the Mosul attacks in 2014, who was killed when a US military sniper shot him while he was at his underground residence. Churches in Britain are disappearing, a statement that might sound vague or unbelievable. However, according to recent data, between 3,000 to 5,000 churches have either closed or been repurposed into community halls, swimming pools, and even nightclubs over the past decade. Low attendance and high maintenance costs are among the key reasons these historic sites are vanishing. Let's have a closer look into the report. The stunning architecture that once showcased the rich heritage of Britain is now crumbling into disrepair. Buildings that once stood as pillars of communities across the country are now shut down or intermittently closed due to declining attendance and the high costs of necessary repairs. In the past decade, between 300 and 500 churches have either closed or been repurposed into mosques, community halls, swimming pools, or nightclubs. The Church of England owns more than 16,000 church buildings, with 12,500 of these listed, representing nearly half of the Grade 1 listed buildings in the country. However, recent census data from 2021 reveals that Christians have become a minority in England and Wales. Britain, once hailed as a Christian country, has witnessed a significant 15% decline in its Christian population. As Islam rises, some churches have been converted into mosques. In 2024, the Church of England intervened to prevent the disused Grade 2 listed Georgian Church of St. John's in Hanley, Staffordshire, from being turned into a mosque. A legal clause placed on the church when the Diocese of Lichfield sold it in 2009 prevents the building from being used for worship by any religion other than Christianity. However, other transformations have been approved, such as a disused Victorian Methodist church in Bradford, which is set to be converted into a mosque. To save these historic buildings, developers are stepping in and vicars are working desperately to keep churches open by transforming them into multi-use community spaces. According to Historic England's Heritage at Risk Register, South Shropshire, along with Louth and Horncastle, has the highest number of churches at risk, with each region having 19 buildings facing potential closure. In some cases, churches have been turned into pubs and nightclubs, such as St. Andrew's Church, a Grade 2 listed United Reformed Church, is now Hallow nightclub in Bournemouth. In South Yorkshire, a former St. George Church closed in 1981 was repurposed by the University of Sheffield and is now used for lectures and student accommodation. Meanwhile, the chapel at Repton Park in Woodford Green, northeast London, has been transformed into a swimming pool. These examples reflect a wider trend. Church attendance has been declining since 2013, with many people now identifying as having no religion, and the significant cost of repairs pushing these historic buildings into disuse or forcing them to be repurposed for leisure activities. That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.